Hey guys, check this out. I'm wearing green. Am I a scroll? Maybe. When was I replaced? I don't know. Do you tell me? Oh, you don't know either? Well, that's too bad. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another review. And today we're going to be reviewing yet another Marvel Studios Disney Plus show, Secret Invasion, starring Samuel L. Jackson. Now, before we get started, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And check out some of my videos. It should be noted that I actually did start doing a reaction to this series on this channel. I released a video where I reacted to episode 1 and 2 both in the same video, right? And I kept on repeating this thing where I was like, I feel like these episodes all should have been released at the same time so you could have watched all 6 parts and maybe it would have been a better watch then. So at that point I just decided that I was going to watch the show by myself and then do a review for it because honestly at a certain point it wasn't offering much to me, so I was like, hey, maybe. Let's see. Let's go back to when they released like the first trailer for this show. I have a reaction, I think, somewhere on this channel for this. Doesn't matter. I remember saying to myself like, ooh, espionage thriller set in the MCU world with Samuel L. Jackson as the lead? Yeah, that's my vibe. That is speaking right to me. If you gave me an option of being like, hey, we're gonna make a Marvel movie, what do you want it to be like? Do you want it to be like a grounded spy thriller, or do you want it to be like a mystical or even a galaxy adventure? And even though I do like the mystical and galaxy adventure, like Guardians of the Galaxy or Doctor Strange, whatever, Captain America: The Winter Soldier is one of my favorite movies in this franchise, and that's why I was so excited for Secret Invasion. Let me actually peel back here and talk about the positives first before we really dive into the negatives about this show. The positives are the performances, honestly. I mean, you got Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. He delivers, he shows up, he does the script. The script underutilizes everybody in the show. But actors like Samuel Jackson, Olivia Colman, Emilia Clarke, Ben Mendelsohn, who I thought was great in this show, I thought all of them delivered a great performance. And the guy that plays Gravik as well, he was also in Barbie, played a Ken. That was interesting to see 2 different versions of him in the same week. Episode 2 specifically, that was a real standout episode for me. That was in the beginning when I thought to myself, okay, yes, this is what I'm vibing with. I hope the rest of the show is like this. And then the rest of the show never ended up like this. I may refer back to episode 2 later in this review when we talk about some other stuff. But now, outside of my positives, let's get to the negatives now. The biggest negative of this show is that this is supposed to be an alien spy thriller, but it's a spy thriller with no thrill whatsoever. It's very lackluster and kind of boring at times to watch. The entire marketing for this show I actually thought originally was great before the show came out because they would release a poster or a social media post and be like, who can you trust? Because the entire concept is that, well, I mean, if you didn't know, Skrulls can turn into anybody, right? They're shape-shifting aliens that have infiltrated humanity. And that was a really, really great concept that I thought was going to lead to some major plot twists, major shocks, where even if I was doing reactions to this show, I could be like jumping and being like, and doing all the thumbnail face of like, oh, no way, that guy, that girl is a Skrull. Oh my god, what a plot twist. But the show never offered that. I want to actually show you a quick tweet that I saw earlier, or maybe it's an X now. I don't even know what that means. If you're a longtime follower of the channel, you would know that I'm a huge fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And somebody tweeted, at Perks with a Z, Parker, he tweeted, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. pulled off the who can you trust shit better than Secret Invasion ever did. Twice. And I gotta agree with them because if you know anything about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had this whole like who can you trust concept with this thing called the framework, which was fantastic. That was a moment where, they had their members being replaced by like doppelgangers that led to some incredible plot twists where I was in pure shock and my jaw was on the floor, remember back in the day. But this show with the Skrull concept never, ever, ever delivered on that shock at all. I think in that great episode 2 that I mentioned, there was a sequence in the beginning where a bunch of like politicians and news anchors are talking about this potential, Russia versus America war, right? They're trying to really set this up. And just a few minutes later, all of these people, news anchors and politicians, they're now in a room talking to Gravik, and it's very clear that all of them are Skrulls now. So that element of being like, okay, so are these politicians and anchors, are they Skrulls? We don't even get to sit with that because the show just delivers it and vomits it right out as being like, hey, they're Skrulls. I feel like the show did this very often, and it just kind of jumped the gun on revealing who's a Skrull and who's not a Skrull. And maybe that goes hand in hand with, again, Disney Plus episode lengths and 6 episodes. I'm so incredibly tired of saying this with every single Disney Plus review. I'm so tired of it. The only show that has ever pulled off the 6 episode thing was Loki. That's because Loki's the best Disney Plus show still to this day. Loki season 2 comes out soon, and Marvel moved on quick from Secret Invasion. Like the next day, they were like, Loki poster, Loki season 2 comes out soon. Here you go. Let's move on from Secret Invasion. That's how quickly Marvel moves nowadays. It's time we talk about what this show thought was going to be a huge reveal, and that is Rhodey being a Skrull. Rhodey being a Skrull was never a huge plot twist. It never even got me. Outside of Nick Fury and Maria Hill, Rhodey was the only other big MCU character that was in this show. So it was painfully obvious that in this concept where anybody can be a shapeshifter, that he was going to be the main character that was going to be a shapeshifter. Legitimately, it would have been more of a plot twist if he was just Rhodey and was never a Skrull. It was painfully obvious that he was a Skrull. We all saw in the last episode, Rhodey, they take him out and he's wearing a hospital gown, and a lot of people were like, ooh, it's that scene from Captain America Civil War when his legs got paralyzed and he was going through the x-ray machine. That's when they replaced him. He's been gone since Civil War, which is an extremely dumb concept. I truly hope they don't follow through on that. This is coming from comicbook.com. The title of this article says, Secret Invasion Director confirms timeline with Rhodey and Skrull twist. Okay, so here we go. Here's the director, Ali Salim, talking about this reveal. Okay. I think his legs not working in the end of episode 6 and him being in the hospital gown points to Captain America Civil War. And from there, does it have to be definitive, or is it more fun for the audience to go back and revisit every moment, every Rhodey moment, and look at it with a different lens now that they think, oh, he might have been a Skrull there? It's very important for me to point out that the director never fully confirmed this. Ali just kind of said, hey, maybe, because Ali himself is not sure about whether he wants to confirm this thing about Rhodey. I had kind of a big thought about this, and obviously it would be really stupid if Rhodey has been replaced in Civil War, because then everything he did in Infinity War, everything he did in Endgame, him being at Tony's funeral, him being there for Tony when Tony died, Tony his best friend, it extremely undercuts all of those emotional little moments that Rhodey had after Civil War, which he had, quite a bit of them. He had a great conversation with Nebula when they were going back in time to get, Infinity Stones. They had like a bonding moment. And if you're telling me that Rhodey's been replaced in Civil War, then again, it undercuts all of that. In this show, it undercut a great moment in episode 2. Again, favorite episode. There was a moment between him and Nick Fury where they're sitting at this lunch table and Rhodey fires Nick Fury, right? But before he fires him, they have a personal conversation about how them two Black men being in position that they are, in the government position that they are, about how they had to work hard to get there, and about how they don't want to lose that power that they had to work so hard to gain. It was a very personal conversation between them, and I thought in episode 2 that was really great. But then again, it was never Rhodey. I no longer feel like that was a personal and intense conversation that these two men who are friends had between each other just now. This kind of goes hand in hand with the Rhodey thing. Everett Ross was also replaced, which is hilarious to me because we just saw Everett Ross a few months ago in Black Panther 2, so it's hilarious to me that they put him in this show and they replaced him. Episode 6, the final episode of Secret Invasion, just ends. It never explains anything. It never catches you up with Rhodey or Everett Ross to really explain to you when they were missing, because I feel like the show and the creators were really scared to commit to something. It was a very deliberate choice to put Rhodey in the hospital gown, right? They definitely thought about the Civil War thing, but he was just in a hospital gown. They never confirmed anything. He never said, oh yeah, I was replaced after I got paralyzed, in Civil War or whatever a few years ago. I feel like they did that because they were like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we throw this theory out there and see what the fans think? And now they've thrown that theory out, and the fans have said, this is stupid, don't do that. So maybe in, what is it called? Armor Wars or whatever, right? In Armor Wars, he will never admit that he was missing since Civil War. He will just be like, yeah, one of these days I went to the hospital to just check out on my legs again, and yeah, I got replaced. Like, in the long run, it's kind of smart, but then again, if Armor War starts and he's like, yeah, I've been missing since, Civil War, I'm gonna be really fucking pissed. I really hope that because they didn't commit to anything, and that because they didn't 100% confirm that he's been missing since Civil War, that they see fans' reactions and they realize how dumb this decision is, and that they just decide to abandon it and kind of just say he was in the hospital gown just because. All right, so now that we're done with that dumb Rhodey reveal, let's focus on some other characters. Ben Mendelsohn as Talos, he was the best part of Captain Marvel, and he is one of the best parts in the show when he is in this show. I was so upset when they killed him off. That is one of the worst decisions that this show has made. This show has made a lot of terrible choices. Killing Talos was the number one most awful choice that this show has made. I really thought he was a strong point once again in his, I guess, third performance as Talos. The only thing about Talos and his story is that this show kind of expected me to remember the Skrull relationship from Captain Marvel, which I didn't. I don't even remember who Talos' wife was in Captain Marvel, and she just dies off screen. Gravik and his gang kill her off screen. They never show that. They never go back to that. They just say it in passing, which makes it really tough for me to care about that storyline. They gotta find a way to bring Talos back. They gotta find a way to bring Ben Mendelsohn back. He was great. That leads me to another point, is that this show is very mediocre and not memorable at all, and not many people have even seen it. It got the Hulu treatment. When your show gets a Hulu treatment, that's bad. That means not a lot of people are watching on Disney+. But this show killed off two important characters, kind of. Maria Hill died in the first episode. I feel so bad for Cobie Smulders that this is her exit out of the MCU for all those years. Yeah, she wasn't like the main character, but she was here from like kind of the start. And this is the goodbye she gets, dying in the first episode of Secret Invasion. I'm just upset that their deaths and their goodbyes were wasted on this show. Going off of Talos, let's talk about Gaia, but also let's talk about Olivia Colman's character, Sonya. Olivia Colman, the acclaimed actress, got cast in this show, and she is extremely underutilized. She is in like the first episode for a little bit, in the second episode for a little bit, she has a great interrogation scene, right? But then in like the third, fourth, and like fifth episode, she kind of disappears. She kind of starts showing up in the fifth and sixth episode towards the end. But there in the middle, for 2 episodes, she's like barely in it. I mean, you cast Olivia Colman, and she's great in the role that she's cast in, and you want to see her more on screen, but the show is just not allowing for that. But she's alive, and she's got plans, and she's gonna be scheming, so we will see her when we see her, which I'm not exactly sure when that will happen. The MCU nowadays sets up things, and then you're not sure when you're gonna see those characters ever again. I mean, remember Moon Knight? Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight? There's still no confirmation of a season 2 or a movie. This is a cursed image, by the way, from episode 6 there at the end. This is awful. I was dying laughing at this. I don't ever want to see this again. Emilia Clarke was another extremely underutilized character here. She was, again, there in the beginning for a little bit, and then towards the middle, she was barely in any episodes. She got killed off at a certain point, but she came back to life because she gave herself extremis powers, which is like, did this show really expect me to believe that they killed off Emilia Clarke in like the 3rd episode from barely utilizing her? The final showdown of this show kind of summarizes everything that's wrong with this show. I want to go back to what I said earlier in this review about like this show not really utilizing the whole shape-shifting thing to its plot advantage to surprise audiences. This show is also like really bad at selecting when to make people Skrulls, because again, the big showdown, Nick Fury's Gravik pours his entire heart out. It was like a very personal thing between them, and then it turned out that Nick Fury was never actually there. It was Gaia, and this grounded spy thriller, or at least what this was supposed to be, a grounded spy thriller, ends with a big CGI mess between 2 Super Skrulls. And that's, again, that's one of those moments where the show just really didn't know when was the right time to utilize the Skrull shapeshifting thing for the benefit of its story. I actually thought Gravik was a pretty cool villain, and I was kind of hoping that they would keep him around, but then they kill him off. He's got a big hole through his chest now, which, I mean, you keep Emilia Clarke around, which is, I guess, cool, but you gotta work on those designs. I don't ever want to see that shape-shifting Drax hand again. That was bad. It also means she's like the most powerful character in the MCU now, which again, just like with all the important deaths in this show, they introduced one of the most powerful characters in the MCU in this show, which a lot of people are going to miss. There was a time when I really believed in Kevin Feige and the creative heads at Marvel Studios, and I believed that they could almost do no wrong. I mean, during the Infinity Saga, it looked like they were hitting, they were making hits after hits after hits, and then Infinity War and Endgame, that's how it ends. But then, you start the Multiverse Saga, and Phase 4 was pretty underwhelming with, 1 or 2 hits in there. And then now we're in Phase 5, which, me and a lot of other people were like, okay, this has the potential to be better than Phase 4, or at least hopefully. Next up, we got the Marvels, which, I don't know, the trailers look kind of meh. I'm not really excited for that one. I will be watching, we'll be doing a review for it, sure. But, right now I don't really care for it. It really seems like they're out of sync with each other. Like nobody's really communicating with each other. Just from that quote earlier from the director of the show has no idea when Rhodey was replaced, and he's the director of this show. And also, I mean, if you go back to the She-Hulk final had this whole mega fourth wall break Marvel Studios thing where She-Hulk made fun of how formulaic these endings are, and how like it would have been really funny if they had another Hulk come in and there would be a Hulk versus a Hulk fight at the end. And then this show follows up that show by having 2 Super Skrulls fight at the end of this show. It truly seems like the creative process at Marvel Studios right now is in a complete mess, and there is zero communications between, these teams. Loki Season 2, I hope it saves us, because Loki is yet again, with every single Disney Plus show coming out, Loki still proves to be the best one. And I'm excited for Loki Season 2 because Loki right now is the only one that has a track record of being a good Disney Plus show. But I'm also kind of worried, because I'm like, what if they mess up Season 2? What if Season 2 gives me another underwhelming show like all of these other shows have been? It's a real possibility that could happen. I hope Loki gets us back on track, man. But I feel like I've been saying that for a while now. I feel like I said it when I watched the Secret Invasion trailer. I said how excited I was, how this could be our way back here. And then I watched it and it wasn't. It was extremely freaking disappointing. It's funny, before I even watched episode 1, I remember seeing a review for it and somebody said that this could be Marvel's Andor. And I'm a huge fan of Andor. That's a grounded Star Wars show right there. That's a grounded Star Wars espionage show right there. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm down for that. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, this is not like Andor at all. Andor takes a crap all over Secret Invasion. I just remember there was this one scene, I think in episode 5, right? This proves how like inconsistent this show really is with the whole Skrull thing. In one of the scenes, Nick Fury is onto Rhodey, right? And he puts a gun to Rhodey's head and Rhodey goes, you gotta kill me to prove my real identity, right? Because if he shoots him, his dead body is gonna turn to a Skrull, right? And then in the next scene, Sonya, played by Olivia Colman, shoots a guy in the leg and his leg transforms into a Skrull leg. Nick Fury could have just shot Rhodey in the arm, in the leg, and anywhere really. He didn't have to kill him. How are you just like not following your own rules within like a scene of each other? This was honestly so disappointing, and I felt like some good performances were really wasted on this show, man. So yeah, that's how I feel about yet another Disney Plus Marvel show. Let me know down in the comments, what did you think about Secret Invasion? Did you even watch it? I don't know if many people have watched it. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. Check us out my other videos, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!